Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So we're going to have a chat today about the reasons why Thai girls are less demanding than Western girls, while we have a ride around Jomtien to show you the locations of several gents lounges. Before we start, please subscribe, like, share and ring the bell guys as usual. Now then, in the West, feminism has gone crazy, according to all the emails I get from you guys. Girls seem to be demanding everything but are prepared to give nothing in return. They seem to have an overinflated value of their own appearance and judge themselves as a 9 or a 10 when in truth they're actually a 5. This does not seem to be the case in Thailand. Let me illustrate what I mean by recounting an old joke or a home truth story, if you want to call it that, about the husband store. Maybe some of you guys know this joke story, but I'm sure many of you have never heard it before. So I think it's really illustrative of the modern Western women. So this is the story. A new shop opened called the husband store, and women can go there to choose a mate. There are 6 floors with men of different qualities on each floor, and women can pick any man she wants, but there are a few rules. A woman can go up 1 floor at a time, but they can never go back down. Once they've made their purchase, they must leave. So a woman enters a store and reads the sign on the first floor which says, "Men with good jobs." That's great to have a job, but that's not unusual. So she gets into the elevator and goes to the second floor, where the sign reads, "Men with good jobs who love children." She thinks, that's nice, but I'm a pretty good catch, so I want to see what else they've got up there. So she goes on up to the third floor, where the sign reads, "Men with good jobs who love children and are extremely handsome." She says, now we're talking. But she's compelled to go to the fourth floor, where the sign says, "Men with good jobs who love kids, are very handsome and help with the housework." So she thinks, wow, this is almost everything I want, but I'm not quite ready. So she heads on up to the 5th floor, where the sign says, "Men who have good jobs, love kids, are handsome, help with the housework, and are super romantic." By this point, she's tempted to go ahead and pick a husband, but the thought of what could be on the 6th floor is driving her crazy. So she hops on the elevator and heads on up to the 6th floor, which is completely empty. And the sign reads, "You are visitor number 47 million to the 6th floor. There are no men here. This floor only exists to prove that it's impossible to satisfy a woman." Maybe you've heard that joke before, I don't know, but I think it's a good one. Anyway, so that being the case, we shall continue with the chat. So, now, why is there such a difference between Western women and Asian women? One theory is that Western women have had life far too easy for far too long, and they've been completely pampered and spoilt by having everything at their fingertips. They've been given everything for so long by men that they now see it as their right and expect it, and in fact demand it. These expectations are only possible because men have built a successful Western society. If you compare Western society to Southeast Asian society, which is still developing and has not yet reached the stage that it's reached in the West, men in Southeast Asia are not generally as well off as their Western counterparts and are not able to provide in the same way. Consequently, Asian women cannot demand because there is nothing available to demand. So their expectation bar is much lower. So the girls are more easily satisfied. Their main goal is something very simple and basic, like financial security. The problems start to arise when these Asian girls see what's available from Western men who come to Thailand. Now, actually, I highly recommend you look at an Instagram channel called Brian Atlas X. That's Brian Atlas X. It's hilarious. It's all about women overrating themselves and demanding everything. Because Western men spoil the girls, and that's literally what happens. The girls become spoiled. Let me give you an example of a girl I know, who in my opinion is only about a 7 plus, pushing an 8, and if I'm being generous, but more like a 7. No more. And she has 2 sponsors, and she's running them both, waiting to see which turns out to be the best catch. Now, one of them recently bought her a Toyota Yaris for $500,000 which is about $16,000. The other guy just gave her 1.5 million baht, which is $48,000, for a house in a village for her parents to move into from their little cinder block shack, which they lived in for years. These guys are crazy, in my opinion. And of course, both of them believe that they are the only one. This is why I keep telling you guys, never send money. You cannot believe a word these girls say. Several girls have told me they don't respect a man who throws money at them. They'll take it, but they don't respect him. In fact, they think he's stupid. That's what I've been told. In fact, it looks like the guy is desperate and has no other option, which lowers his value in the eyes of the girl. One of the worst culprits for girls overrating themselves is social media. All it takes is some average, very average girl to shake her butt on TikTok, and she gets like 500,000 views and likes and everything, and she thinks she's a 10, but she's actually a 5, you know what I mean? It's crazy, but that's the way it seems to be going. But here in Thailand, things are not as bad as in the West because wages are so low. Very few Thai women can support themselves. They need the help from a man. But of course, very few Thai men make much money. That's when the foreigner comes in. Yeah, I just did an interview on our Patreon channel with 16 Thai girls who worked in a gents lounge. And I asked them which do they prefer, a handsome man or a man with big money. And all of them chose a man with big money. Then I asked another question, same girls, which do you want? A man who is jidey, as they call it, which means has a good heart, is a good man, or a man with big money who doesn't have a good heart. And every one of the 16 chose the man with a good heart. Now, I'm not sure you would get the same answer from Western girls. In many ways, the relationships between men and women here are like they were, say, 30 years ago in the West, if you remember those days. It's all different to the way it used to be, but I remember years ago how it was in the West. And it is similar here. It's part of the attraction, you know? Anyway, just check, you guys, that you haven't been unsubbed, because YT are unsubbing everybody from Pattaya channels. They're doing it all the time. They really don't like Pattaya, and they're doing it deliberately. So please check, okay? Right, I said I'd give you a story, and this is actually a story which happened to me personally about a week ago. Last week, no more. Now then, I have a good friend of mine named Dave. He's English, and he's married to a Thai lady. who has a hairdresser's shop just off Third Road. And Dave's quite well off, and he drives a very nice new Toyota Camry. And Dave and I were driving together up Teprasit Road in Jomtien in his Camry, when the car in front slammed on its brakes for absolutely no reason at all that we could see. Luckily, Dave's reactions were fast enough, and we stopped about an inch from the bumper of the Honda City in front. So we're sitting in the car waiting for the Honda to move off when a woman gets out of the car, the driver's seat, with her telephone in her hand, walks to the back of her car and started taking pictures. I thought, what the hell is she doing? And I got out of the car and went to look. And there was a gap of maybe an inch or 2 inches between the two cars. And we hadn't hit her at all. And she was taking pictures from an angle which looked like the cars were touching each other. That we'd hit a bumper. That's what it would have looked like on the pictures from the way she was angled. In fact, we hadn't done. And she's then shouting in English, "You hit my car, you hit my car. I want money. Or I call police and I call insurance. You hit my car." And she pointed to a dent in the back of her car, which was very small, about twice the size of a coin. Oh, really very small. And I looked at the dent, and I could see dirt in the dent. That was old damage. So she's shouting, "I'll call insurance, I call police, you damaged my car, you hit my car, you give me money. And you pull to the side of the road, I want to call police, or you give me money." So she pulled her car to the side of the road. I got back in. Dave obviously had got out as well, and he got back in. And Dave said, "F her," and he just drove off. Well, she started chasing us, and we turned down a few side roads, and she's following us and following us. And we got to a junction where we had to stop, and she jumped out of her car and came running round to his driver's door and started pulling the handle, trying to open the door, and shouting and banging on the window like a complete nutter. I said to Dave, "What the hell is going on with this woman? It's like it was real, but it was a lie." I said, "What are you going to do?" And Dave said, "Probably the best thing is to drive back to the shop and let my wife sort her out. I think we'll go back to the shop." So he then turned the car round and drove off in a different direction toward Third Road. So we're driving up Third Road to go toward his wife's shop. And as we're going up Third Road, 2 motorbike taxis start riding on each side of our car, banging on the roof. I thought, what the hell are they doing? Obviously, the scam woman had called them, and they were banging on the car saying, "Stop, stop, stop." Well, we actually got to Third Road, on Third Road, to the side road where his wife's shop is. So we turned down the side road, which they didn't expect, so they both shot straight off. And we're going down the side road, and then the 2 motorbikes came back, and the scammer woman's car is behind us, and they're on each side, and they pulled in front. Maybe only, 50 metres from the shop, we were very nearly there. And the 2 motorbikes pulled in front and stopped in front, so Dave had to stop the car. So I jumped out of the car, shut the door, Dave locked it, and I walked down to his wife's shop, and I got his wife out of the shop and said, come, we need your help. It's only 50 yards. And luckily, she was there, and she came back. And I explained to her as we were going what had happened. The next thing is this conversation went off in Thai between the scammer lady and her husband, who was actually sitting in the car, and my friend's wife. And they started really going at it because my friend's wife realized it was a scam. And she started shouting at the woman. Next thing, a policeman arrives on his motorbike and starts asking what's happened. And I point to the front of my friend's car and say, "Look, there's no damage. There's nothing. It's a lie. It's a scam. We didn't touch the car." And she's pointing to the back of her car, and saying, "Look, he did this, he did this." And I said to the policeman, look, it's dirty. It's old, it's dirty. And the policeman like nodded and agreed. He could see it was a scam. He obviously wasn't stupid. He could see it was a scam. And the lady scam was screaming. And my friend's wife translated later what she said, and she was screaming about, take him to the police station, I want him arrested for hitting my car. And the policeman said, there's no damage. And the woman's still screaming, saying, I want him arrested, I want money from him for damaging my car. And my friend's wife, who was wearing some like hairdresser overalls, you know, with combs and things in, and she put her hand in one of the pockets, and she pulled out a bunch of coins, obviously change she used for the shop. And with her full force, she threw the coins as hard as she could, bounced them off the bonnet of the car, and screamed at the woman, that's all the money you're going to get out of this family. And the policeman stood in front of her and said, whoa, 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 calm down. And my friend's wife was absolutely livid. And she told the scammer woman to F off, basically. It's all in Thai, but she explained what she said later. While the policeman said, there's nothing I can do, there's no damage. And he left, the policeman left. And the scam woman and her husband, who incidentally was a total wimp, he hadn't said a single word the whole time, he was just standing there. The pair of them were left standing in the road when the policeman left, and my friend pulled his car around the back of his wife's shop. And then we went into the shop, my friend's shop, and his wife came out and screamed at the scammer, don't you come in my shop. And the scammer woman basically had no choice but to go. Unbelievable, eh? I really, it was the way that the woman was so angry, the scammer woman. It was as though we'd actually hit her car. You know what I mean? It was the sort of reaction you get from something that was real. But she'd obviously convinced herself it was real, even though it was a scam. Crazy, absolutely crazy situation. Anyway, as we say, this is Thailand. Anyway, I wanted to share that with you guys, what happened. It's a really good thing my friend had a strong wife, you know. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And please check that you haven't been unsubbed, all right? And have a look at our free Instagram page as well. The link's just below. And a Patreon channel, have a look there. I mean, that story about the 16 girls, all that's on Patreon. It's really, really good Patreon. You'll love it. You really will. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching, and I shall see you on the next video. Okay, guys.